All right, how's everyone doing? And yeah, we got to mix it some different things today. So first of all, hopefully everyone's having a great day. Couple quick announcements. Still Sounds Matt Clash Cards. This is a co-branded card game that I helped create with my business partner. These are available. I've got limited packs, so if you're interested in talking about the game or talking about some of the characters, let me know. What I'm going to do today, for people who don't know me, I actually do a lot of artwork, but I do this with I actually create artwork around these coffee cups. So right now I'm actually in the penciling stage, so I'll do different coffee cups. And so right now I'm actually working on Deck and his synthetic compatriot here from Predator Badlands. So like I said, just enjoy, have some coffee. I'm gonna be asking questions. If you want to ask me questions on anything, I'll be working on this, talking a little bit about Matt Clash. Also, I got some other coffee cup artwork too. So if anyone's interested to check it out, I've actually got this Goku from this Super Saiyan Goku that's available from Dragon Ball Daima. So little wraparound coffee cup there. So it took me actually took me a few days to finish up. But so yeah, I got some different cups available. So right now, like I said, if you want to ask questions or anything else, just let me know. Right now, I am going to be doing some coffee cup artwork. For people that's interested, generally, I get a lot of questions as far as like, hey, how do I do this? This for me personally, this drawing around a three-dimensional surface, this took probably about a good couple of years for me to actually get my process down, how I want to, design the cup. Um, honestly, for me, it was a little challenging at first. I mean, if I showed you my very first cup, I mean, it was horrible. So right now, like I said, I've through trial and error, like I said, I've gotten my process down to how I want it, and at the same time, too, everything is trial and error. You go back to it, get feedback, understand what works, what didn't, and you just get better. That's it. So right now, I'm doing the wraparound, so it's actually coming out pretty cool. Um, as far as my process, I actually work. I do the penciling first, and then once I feel like I've got everything sort of set in stone, I actually I start going through some gray tones, defining depth, getting shading down. Um, I go through all that before I actually start doing any kind of coloring. What I actually do with this, how's everyone doing? What I actually do with this, I'm actually gonna paint this with coffee. So normally, once I go through the coloring phase, I mix it up with different coffee. So it's sort of a cool process. It's almost like a water. It's almost like a watercolor slash color staining that I end up doing. So I'll give you a quick example. So this Dragon Ball cup that I just actually done a while back. This is painted with coffee and watercolor brushes. So for anyone, like I said, that's just in different cups. And I'll usually do different superhero cups. I've got. I actually was doing this. I did a Fantastic Four series, so I did the Invisible Woman. Um, so I've got like all four cups that I created for that. But right now, I'm actually working on this Predator Badlands cup. So still doing the penciling on it. So like I said, if you want to check it out, enjoy, have a cup of coffee, ask me questions. Um, for people that don't know me, I primarily based. I run a design and branding company called Link for Design. I've got a pretty much like a content engine that I use, Umbrella, under the Langford Studio. So I try to focus on a lot of content creation, art licensing, obviously design work, a lot of creative work, podcasting. So I have a show called The Creative Brew, like creativity and brewing coffee. So that's pretty much the basis of it. But you can check that out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and and SoundCloud. Yeah. So I've got it on all those channels, and then I've got the full video episodes on my YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to subscribe, check it out. I talk a lot about creativity, entrepreneurship, mindset, and I'm sure for my fellow creators, um, those are some things that's needed because they don't teach you how to sell yourself when you're in school. You do that by the school of hard knocks. You get out there and you learn how to value your services appropriately. And like I said, that's all trial and error too. Um, so right now, I'm just working on the penciling right now for this Predator Badlands Cup. So I'm doing like a little wraparound. If you hadn't seen it yet, I don't want to give any spoilers. I'm going to say this the Predator Badlands Cup. I'm going to say that's probably the best Predator movie. I know I generally keep the first Predator movie and up on a pedestal. Story wise, this Predator Badlands is probably the best Predator movie I've watched. It's really really good and really deep dives into the lore of the Predators or and like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers too. So just check it out. I think it was an awesome movie. So right now I am just working on the penciling here before I go into some gray tones, and I'm going to try to finish up the penciling, and I want to get it as tight as possible, sort of understanding where what I'm looking for. Um, Drawing some rocks in here, or some, in the movie I had like some alien type, it was on an alien type sort of world, like a death planet. So I just want to, I'm just drawing like a quick little background in there too. So I've actually been working on this for a couple of days now, sort of on and off between my client work and all the other things that I've got going on. So I'll usually get back to it. I'll do some more penciling stuff. Now, if I had to do this cup, from someone commissioned me to like, hey, let's create this cup. It generally takes me probably about a couple of days because I've got to, especially when I start layering on the colors. It takes a couple of days for it to dry, and then apply some more watercolor and color and coffee into the cup. So it's been actually a pretty neat process as far as how I do it, but definitely been some trial and error. So right now I'm just working on the penciling here. I'll probably end up adding. I'm going to add in some of the gray tones before we end this little episode here. But it's actually been a not really hard, but it's actually a really cool exercise as far as understanding how I want to design the cup. And initially, when I started doing these, I would just draw on like one part of the cup, and then that was it. So now I've gotten to where I'll do a lot of our wraparound designs on the cup. Let's see, and I'm just finishing up some of the penciling here before I go into coloring coloring the gray tones on it. So for people that's joining, I've got right now we're actually working on this Predator Badlands Cup. Just going through my process. Right now, I'm going to the penciling stage. After that, I'll start to apply like some watercolor gray tones on it. Let that dry, and then we'll start to add in. I'll actually start to mix coffee and watercolor um, together, and that's how I start doing a lot of the coloring, and it gives me some rich tones too as well. And then I'll go over it with the illustration with some illustration pens. So that's normally my process on how I do this. So right now, just creating the backdrop and everything else for it. So this is actually coming out really cool. I think sometimes my biggest thing is like, especially with this cup, with these cups, is like messing it up. Like I don't want to start over, which I've done before. I just don't want to start over. So, but I do like how this is coming out. But all this is little healthy experiments anyway. You, especially as creators, you do your best to try something new, get feedback, experiment, see what works, what doesn't work. Or you never know. Sometimes you fall into something that's sort of right up your alley, and you just make it work for you. So right now, I'm just going over some of the penciling here for everyone to check out. Um, I'm not sure. I've got a lot of open space here, so I'm actually thinking about creating. Like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers on the movie, but I do want to add in another another little character in there. Um, but because I do have a lot of open space, so we'll see. And I actually have a couple of these cups also available too. So if you've been watching, I've got this Dragon Ball Super Saiyan 4 cup. It's done. I also got did a Fantastic Four set. So right now, I'm just showing Invisible Woman, actually Sue and Reed Richards. I've done the Human Torch and the Thing. I actually got those at some other coffee shops and comic book shops too as well. So got them sort of spread out everywhere. But right now, I want to make sure I get the angle right with the woman or the simp in the that's going to be in the movie. That's in the movie. I have to do some erasing here. I feel like we got the angle on her face. I just need to fix that. All right, that's not bad. So we're still, like I said, still working on the cup. And also too, while everyone's on, hey, got these Mac Clash cards. I talked about this last week. This is actually a card game that I helped create called Mac Clash. It's actually I'm big into like collegiate style wrestling. I'm also a wrestling coach too. But this is a product idea that I helped hatch with my business partner. So this is almost like a mix of wrestling with Power Rangers almost. Um, it's a card game, dual based card game. You actually go 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, and I've got packs available for that too as well. We're actually going to be releasing Wave 3. So the one I'm showing right now is Wave 2, and I normally introduce certain characters. We got backstories and everything with that. So I would love to in the future maybe turn that into some kind of mini comic book or who knows, maybe a cartoon. So I've got some packs available, not too many of them left, and we're going to be actually we got wave three already arriving here pretty soon. So if you want to get these, you want to try out the game, go ahead and buy a pack, or just from a collectability standpoint, um, purchase maybe wave one or wave two and keep it, you know, don't open it. I feel like, hey, it's going to be a collector's value, collector's item here in a few years, so I would keep it unopened. But going back, we got this Predator Cup. So I think right now we're at a point because I've actually been sketching on this for a couple of days now. We're at a point here where I'm actually going to start coloring this, or at least putting gray tones on it. I can always finish up some penciling later. Let's see, what is, I'm trying to make sure I got this right here. Now I'm going to start adding in some shading and some values here with I've actually got a watercolor brush that I'm going to get that I have, and I'm just going to apply just some light gray tones over this. And I'm just starting to apply some of this real light. So for me, like I said, it's just starting to help with some shading and defining my gray areas here. So normally when I do this, I generally let it, once I apply this initial gray tone, I'll probably go over it maybe a couple of times, but I got to make sure I'll let this dry. My biggest thing is just making sure that I don't break down this paper cup because I can apply a lot of colors on it, and I just want to make sure that I keep it as light as possible, which is why I've opted out for more of the watercolors. It tends to hold up really well on the cup. So let me know. Like I said, if you're out there, just give me any kind of let me know if you got any questions on anything, or if you're working on something, let me know what you're working on. Also, too, if you're interested, check out the Creative Brew that's available. You can subscribe today. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and yeah, we talk about a mix of creativity, design, entrepreneurship, mindset, spirituality, all kinds of things. Really depending on what the guest is and what the topic is. But if you're interested in a new podcast, check it out. Let me know your thoughts. So I don't know if you can tell right now. I'm starting to apply just some real light gray tones on it. Obviously, I'll start to put in like some darker grays to give it a little bit more value. But I just want to get some of those sort of light, just base shading down before we go into the gray tones, or at least the darker gray tones anyway. And for me personally, this is a way for me to maybe get back on, to sort of paper and pencil. Sometimes I can do a lot with my digital work, and it's always good to sort of get back on, get back to paper and pencil, and be able to create something. I know it's really easy with my iPad to hit Control Z and erase real quick, but there's always something relaxing about just going back to paper and pencil. So right now, I'm going to adjust this here just a little bit. Still applying down some watercolors here, just some light grays. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add in some darker grays here in a minute. So right now that's starting to come out good here. Still a lot to do on this cup, but at least I'm about 95% done with the penciling part. I think the hair, especially with the predator hair, was probably the actually might be the hardest. I always have to practice with, especially when I'm drawing hair. Hands, feet, hair, man, those can be hard, especially when you're drawing. But it takes practice. It takes practice. So some of the and people have asked before that some of the tools I actually use to create these. I've got a bunch of Tombow watercolor brushes, dual brush markers. I've got a water brush that I actually use, and this is how it actually helps me to control a lot of the painting that I do. I've got some water brushes that I got from Tombow USA, it's the art supply company, and that's why I actually use this to put coffee or water in, or a mixture of both, and that's how I'm able to paint on these cups, and it gives me a pretty much somewhat decent control. I know watercolors, you sort of have to allow that water to go how it needs to, but it gives me some kind of control, um, especially when I'm coloring or painting some detailed things here. Um, so right now I'm just starting to paint just some slight gray tones, and I'm going to go over it with almost like a darker gray. All right, so I'm gonna slightly mix this up with a darker gray here. Let's see. Let's go with grabbing this light gray and a dark gray. That might be too dark. We're about to see. And I'm just gonna mix it up. That's not bad. Right now, it's just giving me a darker. It's giving me like a darker tone on the grays. So I just mixed like a darker gray in there to highlight some of the shadows. Making sure I don't go too overboard with it. Let's see. All right, that's better. I think I just had to water down that dark gray just a little bit to had to thin it out because I didn't want it too dark yet. Let's see. I'll have to go back through too on the armor for the Predator. So he had a lot of detail in there, so I'll have to go back through there and add in some more details. Right now, just blocking out a lot of the darks and value, the gray tones that I want. It's coming out good. So if you can tell, I said right now that's what it's looking like. Um, just applying some more shading and values to it. Let me know what you think. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna finish this up because I'm not gonna finish this whole thing today. Um, there's no there's gonna be no way because I have to let this dry, and I've got client work that I've got to work on too as well. But we will come back next week, and we're going to continue. We had a couple of projects that we were working on. If you jumped in last week, that's cool. Um, so if you jumped in last week. We're actually working on some concept characters. I was actually creating some concept characters that I was going to put in my art book. I've got a compilation art book that I've been working on. Actually, this is going to be volume two, and I wanted to show more, just more of my process about how I create, just everything that I create. I mean, I'm just going through my process, doing a little documentation. I think for me, the from a experimental standpoint, I love sort of documenting and seeing the process and seeing how I got to a certain certain piece or a certain idea. I do love that a lot. So right now I am working on volume two for that. So we'll go back. I'll probably be working on a mix of this Predator Cup as well as those concept characters that we worked on from last week. Um, Pretty much creating like a fictional fighting game. That's all we're doing. It's like another little experiment, and I'm just creating some characters around it. I may end up making like a video game cover for it, and we still have to figure out the name of the video game too. So we're still figuring out all that. But I like I said, wanted to create some things, especially for my audience. And at the same time, too, all these coffee cups are available for purchase too. So I know I get people ask me all the time, "Hey, are these on display? Are these, you know?" It's just for display only. No, these are for sale if you're interested. If not, these will be in my in my private collection. Right now, that's what, like I said, starting to come out really good. Um, and in maybe a little bit more shading on the hair for the synthetic that was in Predator Badlands, but she had sort of like white blondish hair, so we're going to keep that as light as possible. And like I said, I want to make sure that I don't give any spoilers from the movie, but it was really good. I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it an A minus for Predator. That's my official review on Predator Badlands. I'm giving it an A minus. So if you're still here, I'm just applying some of the darker gray tones. Um, creating my lighting. Make sure I get my depth. And I said, I will probably. I've been starting to play around. I don't know if I'm going to keep this light and not just have my pencils over the top and sort of go over with watercolors, or color pencils, or I'm gonna maybe. Usually, I tend to go over with my illustration pens. Um, I sort of like the lighter feel to it, so I want to keep it as light as possible. But I do enjoy, having that boldness. So we'll see. So if you're, like I said, just joining, this is the Predator that I'm working on. Deck from Predator Badlands with his companion that's strapped onto it to his back. So I'm not gonna give any spoilers on that. Just check out the movie. It was awesome, and we're gonna keep going with the process here. So I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna finish up this whole cup today, but I'm just going through like how I create a lot of these cups, and I've got all kinds of cups available. I've got cups from Dune. I got a Doctor Doom cup. I got this, like I said, got this Dragon Ball Super Saiyan 4 cup. I got the whole Fantastic Four series, Dark Side from DC. Um, I got an Invincible cup, all kinds of cups that I've made that I've got on display that's available. So that's what it's looking like right now. I'll be adding some more details on it, but currently just doing the gray tones, and then also too, I do have Mac Clash trading cards for anyone that's interested. This is a dual-based card game. I actually helped create this. I created all the characters for it, designed the packaging and everything, logos, branding, designed the whole thing. So this is a dual-based game. So this is a mix of with wrestling and Power Rangers. It's almost what I would compare it to. Actually, was inspired with these characters. I was inspired by a lot of '80s cartoons with this, actually '80s and '90s cartoons. But we're currently on wave three. If you want to get a pack, I've got limited decks available, and it's really easy to play. Once you get the hang of it and the gameplay, it's really quick, and it's got all kinds of specialty cards in here. From a collectability standpoint, each deck that we come out with has specialty cards, and then that's it. So the cards you get in that specialty deck, I mean, in that specific wave, that's going to be it. So I definitely urge from a collectability standpoint, get them. And then I'm also been starting to do some remarked cards. So with all these characters that I help create, some of these cards, I've been remarking and maybe doing some my actual signatures on them. So you just never know what card you're going to get. Um, so got some different ideas that we want to do with this. You can do 1-on-1 or you can do 2-on-2. So we've actually been doing a 2-on-2 version of this Mac Clash game. and it's really been really cool. So I've been experimenting with that a lot. But if you're interested in playing the game, let me know. Get a deck, and let's start playing. So going back, we got this Predator Cup, and what I'm going to do here, I try to keep this as light as possible because that sort of helps me to keep the. It actually dries up really quick, especially with the watercolors. So I wanted to make sure that I'm going as light as possible, and at the same time to make sure that I've got my values sort of built up before I actually start coloring or applying colors anyway. I always do my gray tones first. I know everyone has their own way of doing things, but for me, this is what works for me. And we're gonna have to start coloring the hair. So I'll probably put like some dark gray on the hair first, and then just apply some darker colors. Definitely want to get it to where it's like black, but I do want to keep that sort of undertone in there of the dark gray. So that's what I got right now. So this is it's coming out really cool. So like I said, right now using my watercolor dual watercolor brush markers and a watercolor pen right now to get the values and grays down. After that, I'll start to apply some of the colors. Actually, that's where I start to mix in coffee and watercolor brushes and watercolors. It actually gives me a cool sort of coffee stain effect too as well. So it's really cool how I do that once I start going into that process. But right now, it's sort of getting to where I do like this a lot. Still, some things I need to work on. I know I'll probably add in maybe little bit more shading on the hair. Definitely got to color Deck's hair some more, but that's what we got. So if you get a chance, follow me on Whatnot. I'm going to be doing some more lives here. I want to do some more lives, so I'll be doing a mix of these, maybe maybe recording some Creative Brew episodes too as well. And yeah, talking about cards, talking about comics. Um, Heck, talking about life. I love talking about all those different topics, and like I said, just trying to help out the creative community. So that's what I got today. Got this Predator Cup, came out pretty cool, good start, and then we got Matt Clash trading cards. If you're interested, so we got decks available. So we want to get these out as much as we can. Like I said, I know this is a sort of a micro niche, especially with trading cards, and specifically because this is more of a like a folk style wrestling game, and not a lot of people like know about collegiate style wrestling. Um, so we're trying to figure out ways of like gamifying the sport and bringing in new people that maybe never knew about that type of wrestling, or I'm sure people always knew about high school, college wrestling, but this is like I said, this is just a way of introducing a bigger audience and creating characters and a universe around it. So that's what we got. Now we're always creating new characters too as well. So like I said, we got Wave 3 that's just releasing, and we got some new characters to reveal on that. But that's what I got today. Send me a follow, and I'll see you next week.